Bakugou waits. Ashido was overly enthusiastic about his call. She wanted to chat, rambling almost immediately. She knew that Kirishima had given Bakugou his phone for the day, which meant Kirishima had spoken to her at least briefly this morning. Not a surprise, but Bakugou still wondered how much Kirishima had told. He didn't seem like the type of guy to brag about his sex life, but Ashido seemed like the type of girl to pry. She tried. It was hinted vagueness. Bakugou could hear her winking at every other word of, "So, are you still in bed?" Or, "Kirishima sure did leave late this morning, huh?" When he spoke, she quipped back with, "Your voice sounds so hoarse this morning, Bakugou. Are you feeling well?" He gave her nothing to go off of, simply let her talk and have his responses be an open silence before she started again. It went on like this for a few minutes, long enough that Bakugou figured he was over being polite and completely in the right to snap. "Do you want to help me or not?" She sputtered. Duh, of course. What exactly did you need my help with again?" He pinched the bridge of his nose, not wanting to explain this over the phone. He needed them here, or else he might chicken out and decide it's just as stupid as it sounds. "Just get Sarah and the blonde idiot and your ass over to Kirishima's house, got it? Be ready to work." He hung up, and now he waits. It takes them over an hour to get to Kirishima's. He figures it's because none of them have a snowplow for a car, and it takes a little bit to maneuver out of the cabin. It's not snowing right now, but another inch or so seems to have fallen overnight. He's not sure how bad the roads were before Kirishima left. By the time Sero's car pulls up and the three of them tumble out, Kaminari's still looking half asleep. Bakugou is standing in the doorway, glaring. He's cold, and he's about to get even colder. "So we drove all the way out here." Sero sighs, closing the car door. "Are you actually going to tell us what we're doing?" "Yeah." Bakugou huffs out, humid breath spiraling out in front of his face. "Where does Kirishima keep his Christmas lights?" Maybe he should have thought about this before. He can't imagine Kirishima having gotten rid of them after his mother's death, with all of the blankets still sitting around to use, all the furniture looking ages old, even the spice cabinet not seeming to have been updated since her death. Bakugou doubted it. He would, however, give them to the people to use for the holidays. He'd decorate the town with everything he had out of the goodness of his heart if no one else had money enough to provide. Damn it, he really hoped he hadn't. Just this once, he doesn't want Kirishima to have thought of others. Christmas lights. Kaminari jumps through the snow, making a new path through the untouched boundaries. It crunched heavy under his boots. Why? He hasn't had those up since, well, he gestures with his hands. You know. Yeah, I figured as much. Bakugou leads them inside. He doubts he's supposed to know. He wonders again how much has been spoken to them, about what they've talked about. Or is Kirishima typically an open book with his family history? Does he speak about it to try and seek comfort or to make it more usual? He's not sure. There's still so much he doesn't know about him, about the other people currently in his house. Bakugou wonders when it was he apparently started to care so much. Is this his guilt complex showing through again, or a genuine want to know? To get to know? They follow him quietly until they reach the living room where the fire is burning small behind the gate. The blinds and curtains all drawn at the living room windows to let some sunlight in, trying to brighten up the dark space. That's an entirely different issue he needs to tackle too if this is going to work. Wait. Sero pauses, looking around. There's nothing to see. Do you want us to hang Kirishima's Christmas lights for him? Bakugou doesn't meet his eye. Did he ask you to do this? No. Ashido looks between them both before letting out a high-pitched squeal, a terrible sound that makes Bakugou wince. Look. He tries to cut her off before she gets too excited. I just saw some of his pictures. Mistakes. His family photos? Why were you in his room? Yeah, Bakugou. Why were you in his room? Fucking hell, shut up. He finally snaps. He doesn't want to hear this from them. They don't know him well enough to throw judgment on his attempts at good deeds. All of you, just shut up. He does so much stupid bullshit for this town. Why the hell are you arguing with me on this? He used to have this fairy tale looking Christmas house and now it's dark and dim. Is that such a fucking problem that I feel like trying to give him that again? No one says anything. Besides, it won't even fucking work if we can't get the power back on. This time, Ashido and Sero turn towards Kaminari. He blinks stupidly before groaning heavy, running a hand through his hair with a sigh. Damn it. You're all lucky I like Kirishima so much. He grumbles as he snatches up one of the flashlights sitting at the coffee table, clicking it on before moving towards the door attached to the living room, opening it to cast light into what Bakugou figures is the garage. Don't worry about him. Ashido grins, swinging an arm over Bakugou's shoulder. His parents are the electricians in town, and he grew up with them figuring he'd follow in the family business. It's still a touchy subject that he left for a university to study fashion. He knows a lot about wires, though, so if anyone will figure it out, it'll be him. Yeah. Kaminari's voice calls back from the darkness. As long as the fucking power line didn't go down, then we're shit out of luck. You three get the lights out of storage while I figure this out. Storage, as it turns out, is mostly the garage and another closet attached to the laundry room. They find a few more flashlights to help and open up the garage door to give Kaminari enough light to work with without struggling through the breaker box, grumbling to himself as he goes. It's the most annoyed Bakugou has ever seen him. It's almost a funny sight if he knew it wasn't rooted in family issues of parent expectations and their son's own interests and desires. They let him be as he works, getting down to some heavy lifting themselves. Finding the boxes is easy. Everything is labeled and stacked in organized piles, a layer of dust collecting on the exposed edges. Lights, white, rainbow, red, green, ornaments, glass, handmade, indoor statues, garland, Santas, deer, everything. They move them out into the open garage space to get a better look, and inside, Bakugou is surprised to find the organization extends here too. Each collection of lights is perfectly coiled with ties keeping them together. Some strands still sat in their original boxes, painstakingly packed back exactly how they came with tape keeping them shut. Bakugou opens one of the boxes labeled as ornaments and pauses when he finds inside all of these origami designs placed in little squared-off sections divided by cardboard, each having their own little cubby to keep them safe. There are cranes, Christmas trees, stars, and various geometric designs. All of them have little strings and ribbons at the top to hang, all made from beautiful, colorful paper designs. Some look better than others, the folds precise and crisp and certain. Some look old, the colors a little faded, with folds that are bent at the corners or not as pressed. Little hands handling the paper, uncertain and wanting instruction and help. A family gathered around for a yearly tradition of making them. Years of handmade ornaments sitting here in a dark garage having not seen the light of day in who knows how long. His mom taught us, Ashido says over his shoulder, making Bakugou jump, quickly turning to find her peering down at the handmade decorations. She has a sullen look on her face, but her eyes are warm. Every year she'd gather us all up and sit us down at the table and give us paper to make ornaments. She was patient and made sure we all understood exactly how each fold needed to be. We'd all go home with arms full of origami that mostly got thrown out or destroyed after the season, but she always kept at least one from each of us every single year. She kneels down, pulling one of the little stars from its section. It's made out of a marbled paper, yellow and pink swirling together. Bakugou watches her turn the little creation in her fingers fondly. I'm pretty sure Auntie Akiko is the reason we all still love Christmas so much. She made it feel so special. Bakugou is scared to pick up one of the trees, though his fingers hover over the folded edges. He might damage it. Is that what Kirishima does now? Try to make it special? She sighs. Something like that, I figure. Because he knows how much everyone loves the holiday, but also I think he's trying to keep some part of her alive. Going overboard with this stuff is his way of not letting her die twice. He can't fully understand Kirishima's grief. He's never lost anyone like that. Never had to watch without being able to do anything. With his job, he's seen people die. There's been points where he wasn't fast enough or strong enough, but at least he tried. He did something and can move on knowing that. But just having to watch, having to comfort your mother as her own body degrades, he can't imagine. He can't possibly know, but he can try. He can understand the fear above all else, and, in doing so, Bakugou squares his shoulders and knows what he's doing is good. "Come on," he says, picking up the box with a solid grip. It's not heavy, all the paper weighing near nothing in his arms. But somehow he can feel how the history weighs him down. He'll take care of them, he promises. We have work to do. It takes hours. The work isn't just throwing lights around. It's clearing out enough snow that they can hook things up where they need to be, shoveling pathways and brushing down bushes and tree branches, shaking the snow away so they could string lights and make sure they can be seen. It's getting up onto a ladder to clean out gutters, nearly falling once or twice in the process. The snow has started falling again too, the effort at some point seeming fruitless. But the fall is quiet and soft. It bunches up gently in piles that they easily brush away again. There's no harsh wind to burn their faces. The three of them carry box after box, inspecting what's inside each and taking it over as to where each string or decoration should go. Sero and Ashido argue over their memories, about which lights went where when they were children, how the white bordered the windows, but the bushes along the front were flashing red and green, or how the icicles of the surrounding trees were blue, not white, or that the rainbow went up trunks in a spiral, not lining the driveway. They bickered back and forth long enough that Bakugou had to go inside and collect the family portrait that had given him the idea for reference. It wasn't a complete picture of the entire house and surrounding wood, but it was enough to direct them. Any arguments that happened after that Bakugou would break, stating neither of them had an eye for color coordination and take it upon himself to say where lights needed to be hung so the entire image looked good from a distance, balanced and bright. After one particular fight that Bakugou stepped between, Kaminari pokes his head out from the garage where he'd been working. "What makes you king of the lights, huh?" Bakugou rolls his eyes. "I've got some experience." He cocks a brow. "You decorate the firehouse a lot?" "No." Bakugou glares. "If you must know, my parents are interior designers. It's annoying." "Seriously?" "Fuck off, Sparky. Our house was always decorated for the season. When your furniture changes every 3 fucking months, you pick up on some shit." This gets Ashido and Sero to stop arguing, looking back at him. Ashido smiles. "Your furniture seriously changed every 3 months?" He rolls his eyes, trying to focus on keeping the coil of string lights in his hand organized. "Yeah, they like to use our house for photo staging. It was annoying. Everyone thought they were stupid, but apparently my mom wanted to show people she used her own furniture. Plus, it proved their shit always looked good in any space, not just made-up rooms. She was stubborn." He grumbles. "I'm sure there's a few old magazines that have pictures of me playing around our couch or some shit. They like to use me as a prop sometimes." "You were in magazines? They were in magazines?" He didn't talk much about his parents or his home life growing up, mainly because he didn't care to share it or any other unnecessary details with people. He's lucky that him and his mother still talk to each other at some points from some of their past fights, but thankfully it was mostly loud. They were both hotheads. Nothing stuck for real. It wasn't that it was bad, that they didn't love him. It was just they worked a lot. He took it out on them sometimes. Kaminari hovers over Bakugou now, having become distracted from his electrical task. It just now dawns on him that maybe Kaminari might be more interested in this and his parents than he first realized. He looks about ready to jump at him and ask a million questions, eyes wide with a curious need, and, being nice, Bakugou caves for just this moment. He'll give him something. "You ever heard of Bakugou, Masaru?" Sero and Ashido look at each other confused, but Kaminari knows better. He looks like he might have stopped breathing. "You've got to be kidding me." "Nope." Bakugou pops his pea, looking around trying to pick out the right bush he wants to decorate. "He's my dad. Not that he designs clothes anymore, but I know he still has a name that some people recognize." "Recognize? I've had to study books about him. There's courses on his designs and collections, and you're just now telling me he's your dad?" "You never asked." Bakugou replies, having hoped his dad had grown old enough to have this shit not be a big deal anymore. Apparently not. Kaminari is now trailing after him through the snow, still talking to his back. He was everywhere for years, and then just fell off the map after his fall lineup almost 30 years ago, and then suddenly popped up again, married, designing furniture. He's rambling, talking on and on about clothes, collections, colors. It was all stuff he had heard before in vague passing as he grew up, from random people he didn't know at house parties and his parents' assistants that thought he cared far more than he did. He sounds a lot like Deku, in fact, going on, to the point that Bakugou has the intense urge to shove snow in his face to shut him up. Being nice, for the moment, he resists. It's hard. He really wants to shove snow in his face. Look. He turned sharp on his heels once all the lights in his hands had been arranged and his ears talked off, snapping to get Kaminari's attention. If you shut up for 2 seconds about how bad you want to suck my dad's dick, I'll make a deal with you. Kaminari's mouth shuts with a click. Good. Now, if you can manage to get the lights on before Kirishima comes home, I'll give your portfolio to my dad to take a look at. He's silent for a few seconds, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water trying to figure out why it can't breathe. Bakugou rolls his eyes. He hates when people get like this over his dad. He's the most boring person Bakugou knows, but apparently some people really haven't realized that yet. Deal? Kaminari chokes on his own tongue, trying to find the words. Yeah, I can't turn that down. Good. Now go back and fix the damn lights. He scurries off so quickly, he slides on an iced-over section of the walkway, nearly falling on his ass, but manages to catch himself at the last second. He shoots 2 thumbs up to proclaim he's fine so quickly into the air he nearly loses his balance again. Bakugou is horrified to realize very, very suddenly that this entire plan falls solely on Kaminari's shoulders to work. Fuck. He hates relying on idiots for anything. As the day grows longer, they stop for lunch. Bakugou cooks quickly, knowing the amount of daylight they have left is limited, and he's still not entirely sure when Kirishima is meant to arrive home. Sero wants to help, but Bakugou smacks him out of the kitchen with a spoon, insisting that because he's a guest in Kirishima's home, that means the kitchen is his for the stay and no one is allowed in it while he works. Ashido kisses Sero's wounds as he grumbles about flashbacks about his grandmother doing much the same to him when he was younger. It's a struggle to pull Kaminari out of the garage long enough to eat something. The promise of having Masaru Bakugou look at his portfolio gave him renewed vigor, but he still needed to stop long enough to keep his energy up. Also, Bakugou was almost positive he stopped blinking. The easier lights are all up now. Every bush and tree surrounding the front of the house has some sort of string lights spiraling up it or placed upon the leaves and branches. The driveway is lined in a collection of animatronic LED deer family now sit on the front lawn waiting for their time to shine. They still have the roof to do, and Ashido has 2 more windows to finish up. Plus, Bakugou still wants to figure out how to use the origami decorations. They aren't safe outside in the snow, but there isn't enough time to get a tree inside the house and finish the outside lights before the sun goes down. Bakugou hums in thought as he works his way around the kitchen, zoning out the conversation of the other 3 sitting at the table all warming their hands on the mugs of tea Bakugou served. Hey. He cuts through their words as he lays down plates in front of them all. Ashido, do you think you and Sero could handle the rest of the outside? She smiles, somehow knowing. Sure thing, boss. But I thought you just wanted to do the lights. I do. But I think I'll work on the living room too. Don't worry about it, I just need some white lights. When he looks at them, all 3 are staring as if they have something to say. He's sure they do. More questions about why. Why go through all the effort? Why try for someone he's known for a few days? He's grateful, as he's not sure how he'd go about answering them, as he's still not entirely sure why he's doing all of this himself. They eat quickly before getting back to work. It's tedious. All of it is tedious. Hanging little hook after hook, looping around the lights, draping it to make it look nice. Coiling and curling and adjusting when one strand doesn't make it all the way around. The snow and ice make it difficult outside. Inside, Bakugou works as quickly as he can with the sun sinking lower and lower into the tree line. He's delicate, gentle, but rushed. Every so often he steps back to look around the room, trying to remind himself to not immediately think it's cheesy. It's Christmas, it's not for him. This is the most effort he has ever put into Christmas before, and he has his doubts. He's not a good judge when he wants to curl his nose at every little tree and Santa he sees, but he fights through because it's for Kirishima, and this is what Kirishima loves. He tries to admire instead, think about the memories that every box holds when they open them up. He thinks about the picture of a happy family together for the last time in front of their glowing house that they've all taken so much care to create. He's biased, but he tries not to be. By the time everything is hung up, every little ribbon is string and looped, the tips of his fingers are getting blisters, the skin rubbed raw from the same action over and over again. But he steps back, looks up, and hopes that Kirishima will like it, and hopes all his efforts aren't going to be put to waste if Kaminari can't. The lights flicker for a second, everything glowing with a twinkling dazzle of stars, and then just as they come, they disappear with a very sharp yelp from outside.
Kaminari! Shit, are you okay?
When Bakugou gets out to the garage, Kaminari is walking around shaking his hands while cursing softly. He looks a little jerky and twitchy, but otherwise alive. The darkness is blanketed enough that the flashlights have been turned back on, giving them a little bit of light in the looming twilight. Ashido and Sero seem to be done, the latter getting put away, the boxes stacked back up. They just need one more thing.
Yes, fuck, that hurt. I haven't shocked myself like that in years. Fucking hell.
His shoulders shudder, shaking out his arms trying to get them to stop tingling.
But I got it. Hold on. Let me just... Wait, I think... Are those headlights?
Bakugou's blood runs cold. They are, and there's only one person it could possibly be.
Shit. Kaminari, get the lights working.
As the headlights get closer, Bakugou realizes that it's technically not Kirishima's truck, but Tetsu's. The makeshift plow at the front pushes away the light snowfall from the day, but behind it is another set of lights, lower to the ground than Kirishima's truck. The lights still aren't on when they pull up to the driveway, but the rest of the boxes have been stacked back where they were, in some sort of organized pile out of the way. Bakugou is still standing in the dark, illuminated by the headlights, trying to process the black car that stops behind Tetsu's truck, taking note of the banged-up hood before both vehicles turn off and cast the entire area into practical darkness once more. Kirishima gets out of the car, Tetsu out of the truck with both dogs nearly falling over each other to get into the snow. Kirishima looks confused. Bakugou is almost positive his face looks much the same.
Bakugou? What are you doing out here? What is everyone doing out here?
Bakugou sputters, still staring.
Hold up. Is that my car?
He can't make out his expression very well in the dark, but he looks a little sheepish.
I kinda wanted to surprise. Got it.
The night vanishes around them. In its place is a glowing rainbow that illuminates the small section of forest they occupy. Bakugou doesn't turn to look, but instead keeps his eyes on Kirishima, taking in the red, white, blue, and green that mixes across his skin, the reflection sparkling in his wide-open eyes as he looks up at his childhood home dazzling in the winter white. He takes a step back in the snow, staggering, as if the power of the lights coming on is a physical force pushing him, his whole body giving way to it. Bakugou thinks he stopped breathing. Surprise so frozen onto his features he looks almost like a tragedy that goes on long enough Bakugou gets uncomfortable. He thinks, for a second, as he watches the still form of Kirishima start to crumble, that he's fucked up. It's a mistake. There's a reason he hasn't put up the lights in all these years his mother passed. Kirishima's eyes are wet. The flickering lights grow muddled within them as the water collects. Bakugou himself has stopped breathing.
Bakugou.
The silence breaks. Kirishima doesn't look at him.
You did this.
He almost doesn't want to answer.
Your friends helped. I just figured, the rest of your insane town is glowing, so why not make your house too, right? If it's too much, we can...
His words are stolen from his tongue as strong hands grab the sides of his face, pulling him forward to the point he nearly falls, but a warm chest is there to catch him as he's kissed. Against him, Kirishima is shaking. His lips tremble as they press against his own, breathing out warm, shaky air, as he chokes back a sob long enough to kiss him again. Bakugou can feel the wetness of tears touch his own cheeks and knows Kirishima has started to cry. He thinks they shouldn't do this in front of everyone else. He thinks he should stop, but he can't, because Kirishima is holding him so tightly, so warm, as he kisses him desperately in the cold night air with the glowing display illuminating their silhouettes. He can't stop him. He doesn't want to. He thinks he shouldn't get attached, but he might be, as he loops his arms around Kirishima's shoulders and tilts his head for a better angle to kiss back, opening his mouth to a probing tongue and welcomes the coiling of his stomach with it. Just for this second, he forgets about what he should and shouldn't do, what every logical part of his brain screams at him, at the edging guilt wanting to eat him, at the doubts that whisper in his ears. He forgets. Right now, right here, all he cares about is Kirishima holding him, kissing him, and realizes, very suddenly, that he truly doesn't want to let him go.